Hello, welcome. I'm Will, the Nerdy Nerf Herder. Today we're going to be building in Pokopia, working on that museum build. Today I'd like to make a little bit of a push to get a lot more done. I've got a lot of supplies kind of built up for this, so I think we're going to make a good push on this and get this looking real nice here. We may even start the interior decorating by the time this is done. So let's hop right to it. Give me just a second here and we'll get that up there. Alrighty. Naturally, it dims. So this is kind of where we left off. I put some markers in here to help me with the spacing on some things. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take care of this corner. So there's an item we need here. And the best way to put it here is just do it. Alright. He was like, I'm ready. Let's ride. So, yeah. We need to make sure we get our floor. I know. You're having trouble following. So we want our floor up until this point. And then we'll want to... Always getting lined up. That. And then we want that. And then we'll have that. And then for that, we're going to go ahead put some of our marble wall up. That should... Here in just one moment, give us enough clearance that we can get these extra ladders up here and get this elevator moving and get our builder up here. Bam. Now I have to get her following us again. Follow me. So all of this is to get up there with Tinkaton. Mew will abide. Mew gets it. Alrighty. Now we just need Tinkaton not to fall off. So I realized what I needed to do with this space here. And what I needed to do is install power. So we're going to install 2 power units right here. So now we've got our 2 builders, and I need sea glass, fragments, and iron ore. Let's get this. Come on. Alrighty. Hope everyone's doing alright tonight. That the pressures of the day aren't getting to you too bad. See, there's our sea glass. And there's our iron ore. Knock out both of those. And then we can get to work on putting in some windows. And walls and floors and all that jazz. We got them building. So that'll be done in about 6 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and put the materials down for that, because we're just going to pretty much put them right back to work. Alrighty, let's get some walls. So we're going to get these walls placed all the way around. And then we're going to carve out the windows. From there. And then once we've got all the windows carved out, we'll work on the ceiling. Alrighty. So last time I talked about how I'd like to do some shiny hunting, and I was originally thinking I might do some on our next evening stream. Take a little bit of a break from Pokopia. I have been playing a lot of this game. I have put well over 400 hours into this, my world so far, between beating the storyline as well as building here in Pallet Town once the storyline was beat. Because that was one of the things I wanted to do, was I didn't want to build in Pallet Town until everything was complete. I wanted to be environment level 10, even if it was just a surface level environmental 10, so I can get all the storyline unlocked, dealt with, and we can move forward with that, and I wouldn't have to worry anymore. I've got everything unlocked, and I can just build without the fear of, oh, I need this item that I haven't unlocked yet. So, like, right now, at least until either a DLC or another event comes out that adds more items to the games and more recipes to the game, I am caught up on all the recipes for this game. And there may be a few patterns that I'm missing still. I haven't quite kept up with the patterns as easily as I've been so focused on building. Certain things kind of fell by the wayside. One of them being making sure that I was collecting enough honey to get the daily exchange with Vespiquen, which I highly recommend people do. Because that's how you're going to get a lot of the various patterns to really bring everything to life. So, give you a little more options and whatnot. And there have been a couple times where it's like, man, I wish I had this pattern earlier, because I had built a home for Slowpoke and Slowbro, but I ended up decorating them with the Slowpoke rugs, but like, I didn't have the pattern that actually had Slowpoke on it, so I had to use other Pokemon patterns or other patterns that were available to me for their housing. And now, if I go back and take the time, I'm gonna fix it to Slowpoke, but like, it would have saved me a little bit of materials and time if I had waited. But at the same time, I wanted to get stuff done when I was doing that. I wanted to get Pokemon moved in, so that way that beach area would be kind of populated on occasion. Especially since I took the effort of putting like the changing room and the lifeguard tower, and then I had all of the legendary birds nearby with those various fountains. Which, that's one of the things I feel like we're going to need here, is we're definitely going to need a nice body of water display to go with the museum exterior here. I feel like that's like a must here. Alrighty. Furnace 1 has been built. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Yes, let's check out the new furnace. And then we get them following us again. And put them right back to work building. And we'll get this next one done as we finish up the walls. Which, to me, it's a little exciting that we're already to the point where we're getting the last of the walls placed. Things are gonna be downhill from here. Alrighty. Well, it helps if I'm paying attention to my spacing. We'll fix this. That's not hard. The upper wall spacing would have been a pain, but that's fixable. And that's one of the things I love about building this in this game, is if you don't like something, just tear it down. It's so easy to destroy it and try again. Alright, let's get our lines. So there. How did we get? One more on this side. There we go. And we're going to go ahead. That's 5 high. And we used one of those arches. So if we place an arch back in, will it match? Yeah, that will actually match. We'll go ahead and do that. There's my arches. Well, it should be, I shouldn't have put the arches in. I should have waited and made some more of them, and now I'm not going to have enough to do the windows. Alright. Got that one dealt with. Which means now, let's get some flooring. We got these gaps to fill in. Oh, we don't want to fill in that. And I think this will end up having another expansion off the back end of it here. So this may end up changing at the end. But we're going to go ahead and build as if this wall was the end. Alright. So, with what I'm doing here, this area is actually going to be blocked off. And we're going to do... No, we won't block it off. I have an idea. We'll do something a little bit different. We'll kind of close the gap up, but I need it as a placement marker for now. Because we're going to do this, so... Ooh, you also spicied up. Okay. We need to get you gone. There we go. We want... that. No. I want... Naturally, I did this on the build and had it how I liked it when I was doing the test build. And now I'm trying to remember what I liked. No, I think I liked it like that. And then we'll do there, there, there. Maybe that's what I did. Yeah, that's what I did for the test build. There we go. That's how I did it. We'll fix that. Again, like I said, part of what I love about this game, it's so easy to fix the little bit of tweaks that you need to do along the way. Let's see. I feel like doing that. Keep the build. There we go. Now we got it on the mirror. Yeah, we can roll with this. We can roll with this. So I am not going to talk to them. I know they would love to talk to me. But instead, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get this wall and this floor done. And I'm going to start with the floor. So if we talk to them, they would go ahead and they would finish off the build. But what I'm wanting to do here is I think this side we're going to kind of play a little bit. Maybe make the dimensions a little different than what we have below to make that top area in the middle look a little bit bigger. Having done the other side, I feel like that might be the best thing that we can do with those walls, is maybe shift them just a hair, so that way there's a little more space on either side. Because we still want to get a staircase, because I don't want the only means of being up and down from the second floor one singular elevator, and we may even throw in an extra elevator. And this will be really disappointing if I manage to mess up the levels on this. Okay. But this is all moving towards that building kit down below. And that's that. I think I want to move that building kit to the second floor. I think that with what I want to do on for the space still, like where I want to throw in a gift shop and some other stuff, I think having this wing in the bottom area as something else would be the way to go, and moving that build kit to this level. And once we do that, move this build kit up. I will need to get more Pokemon, which means I'll need to bring them up here. So rather than let those two run away on me while I get the build kit prepped, we're going to let them be. So that way it's an easy transference once we got everything else put in place. Alright. Mysterious mural. We want it right up against. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna go. What is it? So obviously, it's not evenly spaced, but I still think that'll be okay with how I want to present things. So let's see here. What do we need? Of course, we need a huge stack of that. And then we're going to need 2 more Pokemon. Well, I can manage that. Come here, we'll get our stacks of Pokemetal. Bam. And then 1 jar of honey. Smearguru is like, I'm already here. You don't have to do that to me. Follow me. Congratulations, boys. Once you help blow up a mountain, now you're gonna build the thing that's going where that mountain was. Yes, it's a wrap. Ooh. They're probably gonna fuss about steps. They are roly-polies after all. Which I'm not happy. Well, that's one way of saying I'm not happy with the entryway. Just take it apart. I'm not 100% happy with the front of the building right now. But one of the things that we can do to get there is get this roof on here and then get all the windows placed. Once those windows are placed, I have a few more things to put on here and we can get it looking nice, I think. Alright, you go there, you. Let me get the rest of the crew. So just because I've got these furnaces here, I don't want to go ahead and power anything. I think on the end we're going to go behind, and wherever I need power, figure out where I can put the power lines. With me having such a limited number of electronics available for me to use on Pallet Town without me packing some stuff up, I want to make sure we get things looking good, and then see about powering everything. Because if I need to adapt something to be less power, that's a lot easier then. Alrighty. They are building, which means time to make some windows. So we need 5 high. Get these carved out. Oh, come on. So just like how we did the other ones on the other side, we're gonna make them 2 wide all the way to the top. Let's get our windows. Then we're gonna take our arch bridge pieces here, put those around. Our pillars in place here. So, originally I did this white stone down here, and I have decided that is 100% the wrong base. I feel like it is not grand enough for this close to the building. I think it will work as we get further away from the building, but I do think before the end of the evening that will all be swapped out for white marble. I love the marble. I can't help it. I'm sorry. I was talking with the wife, and she's like, there's a lot of white. And I'm like, yeah, and a lot of the museums that I've looked at, white is a various stone is what it tends to be. Or it's a lot of windows and a lot of art, like, deco. And that's the more classic style museum is what I was hoping to go for here with this build. I wasn't wanting a, let's see, are we at least 1 high? Yes, we are. Alright. Oops. Too high. We gotta do these. Would it be faster to go through and hollow out each of the window spaces and place the window pieces all at once? I'm not sure, but like my little goblin brain wants to build it one window at a time. Yeah, I would switch between stuff less, but that's not how the goblin brain works sometimes. And those of you who have goblin brains, I think you understand. Sometimes if we get doing too much, we overextend ourselves. And we don't accomplish what we set out to do because of that. And it can be a real drag when you find out you can't complete what you wanted to complete because of the way you did it. But we don't want to overextend. That way, when we come back at it and we look at it, we're happy. We don't feel like everything was just a giant burden, and that the day can go on and we can all relax. And that's what we're here for. It's just a happy little build time. So, windows, windows, windows. Another thing I have prepped for today, you can kind of see it as I flip through the inventory a little bit there. Banners. As my wife said, there's a lot of white. But one way we can handle that is by adding a splash of color. And I don't know of a better way to do that than these banners. I feel like they just look really nice. We can use them to a really good effect here. And we'll try not to make them look too much like a propaganda machine and more like, you know, museum special exhibit kind of banners. I can't put the details of, like, you know, here's a T-Rex on a banner. I wish I could. That would be really cool if they had, like, the ability to put, like, long hanging banners in with different images on them. But we're not there yet. Game's not giving us that yet. So you'll notice I went a little higher on the ones here. I'll fix that on the other side. But I think I did it for the lower ones on the other side as well. Because that adds a little bit of an effect while still allowing a little extra light in. Pillar, pillar, pillar. Alrighty. Ooh. We got our accent points. Alright, so now we got windows. So I had made a point. Oh, one more. Why, yes, hello. Don't mind me. We're just making windows here. So I think for these windows, which, ooh, I know we're off by one on each side. But if we frame the windows such that it, yeah. I think that's the way to go about it for this floor. Frame the windows off of that. We need to take it over one more. Oh well. Then see, once again, easy to fix. I know I said it once already on a stream. I feel like Bob Ross would have thought this was fun. From a creative standpoint. You know, the idea, just the digital technology, those happy little mistakes. Oh, that's an easy fix. Yeah, you made that mistake and we're going to adapt it to something new with his style. But with this one, we can just fix it. It's okay. We're not that committed. Alright. Let's get some walls. I know it feels like the idea of doing this wall here right as we're going to start it up. I think that's the right move. So one of the things that I wanted to work on building tonight is the center roof. And the center roof is going to be kind of special. We're wanting to create almost a domed effect. And as you can tell, we live in a blocked grid system in this game. So we went ahead and we deleted on those for the effect. Okay. So accomplishing the effect of something being rounded is not easy. Especially with the items that I've got right now in the game to work with. But you kind of saw where I placed those pillars. We're going to, in the center area, we're going to make those into something a little more. So when we start on this roof after these windows, we'll be able to fly through that. Because I already know exactly how I want to build it. That was the main thing that I worked on the test build when I was working the past couple days on it. We'll get the windows up. And we'll get things looking good. Give me one moment here. So what we can do is we can adjust the window build here. I kind of started to hollow it out. Already. So we'll go ahead, in order to keep things lined up and looking nice, we'll go ahead and put the two windows here like this. Again, want to make it lined up nice. I know what I forgot. Let's see here. That's what I was forgetting. I'm like, what's going on here? Why are my windows not making more sense? Well, silly little me. The reason they're not working or lining up how I intended, because they're not positioned how I intended. Because I forgot the key part on the bottom here. That little bit of protruding wall to give it that window ledge feel. It really helps if I have that. But we can fix it. We have the power. We have the technology. Well, helps if I place instead of trying to delete it. Alright. Get rid of those. And then we put our little window ledges in. There we go. That fixes it. Now I gotta fix it on the other side. We can fix this hole in the wall. And part of me is like, oh, go ahead. Place the banners on the front. Let's knock out the front. Don't worry. We can get those windows later. Nope. We gotta stay focused. Get the windows done. One project at a time. So we need our metal fencing here. Kind of create a little fancy gate effect. I've been debating on if I want to replace that with another fencing option. But alright. And then for this, we delete below. And they go in. But that's because my silly butt got this whole wall gets it on this level. And this is probably the one item that I forgot to make more of. But with how much we need of it, thankfully, I think I've got some already in storage where all I have to do is grab it and paint it, and even that paint job is not going to be too bad. Alright, so that pillar is going to get deleted. But we know we're going to need it back here. Yeah, so we need more of that. We'll work back to base. Alrighty, base. That's under roofing. 63 more. So we'll add 63. While we're here, we'll go ahead and just take care of it from my normal resources. We'll add 263. Alright. And with that, got those protruding walls. Hover on over. Again, hot bathhouse, cafe, the original museum. which I am debating on if I want to tear down the entire structure as we loot the fossils and everything from it to be moved over, or if I want to turn it into a luxury hotel as is and just do some basic interior wall structure rearranging. But part of me is like, oh, you should just tear down the whole big building. It's a big square building, and while I was happy with it at first, and especially since it backs up to that little mountain area, it fit within my first kind of world view of what I wanted, and then all of a sudden I realized, no, not as grand as I wanted. We need bigger. We need better. But I was already committed, so I built the building to be a kind of temporary housing, so that way I had all the fossil Pokemon there. And then my kids could come in, they could take pictures of the fossil exhibits, so they could make them themselves. And that's kind of what I made a good chunk of my original pallet town, was so that my kids could easily come in and collect various habitat information so they could get the Pokemon they really wanted a little bit faster. So like you'll notice in that very first area, all my plant life is done in like squares, and it's because of that. Alrighty. Paint something for me. We need white. And if I end up deciding we need to add more color, that what my wife said about it being way too white and everything, all the details kind of blending in and blurring up, we can go back through and I have some ideas for how to add some little accents for splashes of color. And these protruding walls, with the way they're able to be changed, like if I needed to, bam, there's an accent color. So like if I have to take every last one of these protruding walls off so I can repaint them a little bit different color just to make the build look really top notch, then I will. Alrighty, we might as well eat something. This Magnemite mode's gonna be like, hey, I don't have enough energy. Any moment now. Alright, intruding walls. But yeah, just all of the buildings that I saw on my research, it was like, oh, they're either big white stone buildings with a lot of white stone accents, or they're all windows. And I mean like all windows. Alrighty. Put our arches in here. Finish getting that. So we may end up adding another window on the bottom level. Kind of depends on how I do these rooms that I'm wanting to do. Because I know I'm wanting to do a gift shop. So that's kind of something that, like, I felt like, oh, if we put a gift shop on the second floor, no parent is ever going to want to take their kids back up to the second floor to go get that one stuffy that they saw in the museum gift shop, or the astronaut ice cream that they wanted. Because, like, I'm sorry, I cannot go into a museum gift shop anywhere without one of my two children running up and being like, hey, Dad, can we get this Stuffy or astronaut ice cream? Every time, without fail. And every time, without fail, they end up with astronaut ice cream at least. Um, I'm not going to say I get them a Stuffy every time, because, you know, naturally the Stuffy that they have at the museum is like, oh, yes, this is a $10 Stuffy that, yeah, it's a $10 Stuffy being sold for $25, $30. Now, half the time they're like, but we'll donate to help conserve the habitat of whatever the animal is for that Stuffy. So it's like, okay, yeah, let me buy this $10 Stuffy for $30 to help the environment. I get that. I'm here for that. My wallet, on the other hand, is not always there for that, but I'm here for it. Me and my wallet just don't agree sometimes. Oh yeah, definitely. Landscaping will help around the bottom, and kind of like you saw on the other one, there is landscaping there, and well, shoot, do I have them on me? Aha! Here are my planters here. So, like, I have ideas. Don't worry. We're going to get color in here one way or another. But again, I wanted the stonework and a lot of the actual structural pieces to be that white stone to give it that old-fashioned kind of feel that a lot of those buildings have, because those buildings have been there for ages. Like the Smithsonian and whatnot here in the U.S. Alrighty. But yeah, so like the entire front of the area is going to be filled in, and we're going to do like, I'm wanting to do like a garden, kind of like the front mall of the Smithsonian, where you've got plenty of plant life, you've got trees, you've got water. I'm not going to be able to achieve the mirror pool effect. Well, actually, hold on to that idea. I have some ideas for the water structure. So, again, we're rolling with this as we move along here, but I have ideas. So, where am I? Windows. Gotta do windows. Don't get distracted. Finish the task. And that's my goblin brain. I'm so busy thinking of ideas for the next step. I'm ready to be done with this step. I'm ready for the next kind of things start to get a little interesting aspect. But we're getting there. We gotta do some of the boring stuff to get to the interesting stuff. And unfortunately for me right now, boring stuff is windows. But I think getting the windows in place will make getting the rest of the museum build how I like it a lot easier. Alright. Yes. We build. We place. No. Yes. But yeah, definitely plant life is going to be the main way I get color. I've got planters. I also had another idea for the front area, which I know we're going to get to tonight, because pretty much the moment when I get back over in that area, I am going to fix it. And that is the front archway. There's an effect that I want to do with that. And, like, I want to, now that I'm looking at the design more and more, it's like, I don't like the placement on the front doors. I want to move them out from each other one more block each. And it's like silly stuff like that. It's like, hey, I should be above that by now. We shouldn't be on this still. But, like, hey, here I am. Alright, so windows. You are windows. You get one. You get one. Always look at people. But yeah, the origin of my pallet town was, how can I help my kids easily get habitats so that they can get the Pokemon they really like into the game. That was the goal of my pallet town originally. And that first island became that goal, is get it down. And then I had this idea where I wanted to make that volcano-style habitat roller coaster. And I made that, which meant leveling an entire mountain and then rebuilding it all with the black rock and adding all the lava, everything. And, like, that was a bit of a project. And then I was like, okay, I finished that. There was a bit of that scope where that project almost felt like finishing it was daunting. The scope of that build. Okay. We definitely don't want the ceiling exposed. Watch it be that I didn't even position it right. Okay, we're good. Yeah, we're good. Let's put some glass. And so then it was like, okay, what's another something that I've been wanting to build? I wanted to get my version of the Haunted Mansion built. Because, like, everybody was starting to build their Haunted Mansions. And I had ideas for how I wanted to do mine. But I didn't want it to be like everybody else's Haunted Mansion. Everybody else was doing this, like, oh, their mansion is falling down and decrepit. And you've got all these trashed elements. And I'm like, just because the ghosts are there doesn't mean they're all poltergeist. I mean, you can have little tricks and jokes and pranks without everything being destroyed. You can have ghost Pokemon that enjoy the finer things in life. That makes perfect sense. They don't have to trash everything. Now, the idea that maybe the ghost Pokemon moved in on the mansion after it was abandoned, and they purposely made the decision not to power back up the lab that's hidden in the basement, and why people avoid it, because Team Rocket used to own it, kind of storyline. Yeah, let's go with that. That's kind of what I was going for. A place where they could have been trying to make another Mewtwo. We know that Fuji supposedly helped create the original one for Mew, even though I know I've seen some interesting theories that Mewtwo was not originally created by Dr. Fuji, and that and in the lab at all. Well, maybe that Mewtwo was created in a lab, but Mewtwo is not a newly created Pokemon necessarily. And the theory on that one was that we have Mega Evolution for Mewtwo. Why do we have Mewtwo Mega Stones? If Mewtwo wasn't intended on being a naturally production of Arceus, like in the sense that Arceus creates all Pokemon. What if Dr. Fuji just discovered a Mewtwo and enhanced it tried to enhance it for Team Rocket, and then claimed that it was this brand new species that he discovered by attempting to clone Mew. Because all of his attempting to clone Mews resulted in failure. And the shining example of his failure is a Pokemon that you see that got released between Fuchsia City and Lavender Town, as well as around the manor in Cinnabar Island. Ditto. Ditto was the failed attempt at cloning Mew. And in an attempt to be like, oh, well, we didn't exactly succeed, but what if we took this Pokemon that's kind of like Mew and shared some ancestry to a Mew, and what if we claim this one is the Pokemon we cloned? Even though it's basically a legendary Pokemon that Arceus had made and put on Earth, and then the mental trauma of having been experimented on caused Mew to forget its existence prior. Because, like, the anime also makes it that there's implications that there might be more than one Mewtwo. So just kind of testing the theories of what we know. Because, like, you look at real-world science, and people claiming, I have discovered this, only, in fact, it was really something else, but, like, way to go, my guy, you were close. You were close. You were close. And I know Pokemon made fun of archaeology with the Gen 8 games with the Galar region. All the fossil Pokemon from there, they look like mismatched messes. Because when we were first discovering dinosaur bones, we weren't genetically testing every single dinosaur bone to figure out if they were all the same. They were like, oh, this one looks like it could connect to this one. What if we do this, this, and this? Ah, yeah, here we go. Here's this dinosaur that used to exist. And actuality, that one dinosaur was made out of, like, 6. All using various pieces that they just pieced together to make their find. Like, sorry, my dude, you just found a feeding ground and you just combined the bones of, like, 6 different dinners for one species and that species. We decided that was too high. Yeah. And then you combined them and all and said that's a fossil. So, like, Galar Pokemon games, they poked fun at that, and I think that was a nice little addition. Yes, Sword and Shield, that's the Galar ones. Sorry, I was... My little goblin brain was thinking about the region because it's based off of Britain, which the British museums are notorious for both stealing stuff from cultures as well as inventing new species of dinosaur to shocking all the masses when they started finding all these bones. Alright. Nice little window here. The messages aren't may not be on quite as bad of a delay as much as it also may be my shifting where I'm focusing on the build and kind of flicking back and forth because like the messages are in my slight peripheral, but like just the way the screens are positioned, where I've got one screen to my right and then I've got one screen ahead of me when I'm facing the chair, and the ones that I've got are on here. I probably need to shift where I've got the chat to make it a little easier to catch, but where I'm wanting to make sure I'm placing stuff, I'm kind of flicking through. So it may be partially my own delay as I kind of finish various thoughts and get it. So now there could in fact be a slight delay on messages. I'm unsure. That could be a possibility in the chat system still. I'm not going to deny that it's... I forgot to place windows here. Okay, I know why I didn't do windows on this side. We didn't do windows on this side, or I didn't place markers on it, because of the build that I'm wanting to do on this side. I didn't want to limit myself too much on that. So for this one, we know we need to go 2 blocks up, and then... bam. That's going to be our window. And then, yeah. I want to mirror what I did on the other side. Ooh, I forgot to put windows in a couple of those panes on the other side. We'll have to fix that as I place these panes. I do admit I am looking at the chat through OBS and not through the actual web page on Twitch. So that dock, it is possible that there could be some delay because of that. Alright, let's get these panes put in. I really like using these window panes for these style of windows. Partially because... one, I think it just looks really classy. But the other window where it makes it framed in a solid sheet of glass, I don't think it looks quite as old-fashioned. Oh, I don't know why I'm acting like I'm not going to go all the way across with this. I know I'm focusing on trying to get the window built. And now my goblin brain's like, oh, let's just build it like this so I'm not switching in and out more. But I can feel the end of the build. It's coming. And now I'm back to switching in and out. I'm still a little bit shaky on how I want to do the interior wall that's going to be working around as part of the structure. Because, like, I'm wanting to do things in such a way that you kind of wander around like it would be for, like, an art museum. I've got an idea for how I want to display the pieces that I'm presenting as art. I've got the lost relics, the small lost relics that can all be framed. I'm wanting to put those all over in the museum. And I'm putting those lost relics on the frames, and I'm going to do those in the same room as the Mew. I know I want to do a space exhibit. I know I want, there's going to be a center exhibit in the entryway. That is one of the things that I'm still toying with, exactly the spacing on and how I'm going to position that. We've got staircases still to do, which I'm thinking the best place to put the staircase will be in the same area that I am going to be doing the gift shop on this wing underneath the floor with the mural on it. But I want to get these windows. Once we get these windows done, we can get that roof, finish the wall up. It'll make it smooth sailing to get these walls finished up here. I'm not worried about this back middle section so much, because that back middle section will be coming back off here, and that's where we're going to get that greenhouse cafe build going. So, like, I'm not too worried about that. We're still progressing right along, having it just be mainly the marble, but I know with the wings, I want to get that place, because the back piece, I'm wanting it to tee off of it, not be a, yeah. So we can get a good chunk of the wall done in the back while still leaving that middle section of wall open, which these automatic doors are going to be going into that this bottom area for that greenhouse build. I wanted something that's got a nice little seal on it, so that way as you move through into the greenhouse, it actually captures it performs like a greenhouse. Admittedly, I understand that as a museum, the concept that the doors would always be opening and closing. One of the things I'm considering doing is perhaps doing a chamber, so that it's like, hey, yeah, you walk through these sliding doors, kind of like how they do like the bird houses and the butterfly houses at the museum. They have like these they have an entry area that you come in, and the goal is to get everybody in the entry area, and then the doors behind them shut, and then they go into the next area where the doors open, but there's like these curtains of chains to stop the birds from leaving that zone to go to different sections of the building. And some of the zoos that I've been in. And so, like, I wanted to duplicate that kind of effect moving into the greenhouse, on the theory that it would make it feel like, yeah. I'm thinking I may put some bug Pokemon in here. Maybe do, Volbeat and Illumise in here. I don't know. I'm still kind of playing with how I want to do it. But I know I want to get the main museum done before I build the greenhouse cafe section, because I feel like the greenhouse cafe section will be a breeze for me to complete. I have the formula in my head. It's not so much about the design as much as it is just getting it up. With this part of it, I'm still trying to tinker with the design to make it look like be recognizable as a old-fashioned style museum, while at the same time having that element that says, hey, this isn't everybody else's museum either. Especially when given that we have such a limited options on items that we can use. We're all working with the same items. So we've got to figure out a way to make them look uniquely our design, or enough differences that it's interesting and unique in how we chose to present the same information. Yeah, we're both made fossil displays, but my fossil display is a little bit different than your fossil display. You might have the more traditional, like what I did in the original museum, where it's on the pedestals with the nice wooden barriers and whatnot, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that was a wonderful way to do it. I just wanted to do something a little different with my build, and try to push that creativity barrier. And that's what everything in my pallet town has been since I finished the volcano. Is every time I stepped up to the plate to work on a build, I was trying to push myself to use stuff that I didn't use before in a way that may not be standard, or that could create a good effect. Like, I know everybody's doing square greenhouses. Most greenhouses are square. I get that. I was like, maybe I can do a U shape, and I ended up with a kind of square shape for the overall structure, yes. But I think I succeeded in that U-shaped greenhouse feel because that central area of the U, even though part of it got filled in with like patio and whatnot, it was still complete. It wasn't a square greenhouse like everybody else was doing. You had this one half-style greenhouse. Again, we want to leave the spot there, because we're wanting to do pillars, and I'm going to have to delete some blocks on that. Oh, that's smooth. So like I said, we kind of hit this section right here, and we can go straight up with it. Because until I do the greenhouse, I don't know how far or how high I want to do. It may be that the cafe part enters on the top floor for the dining section, that you use the elevator to get up here. And then the greenhouse is below you. And then if you wanted to do like the greenhouse tour, you enter through the bottom on the main floor. I may do it that way. I'm still debating on how exactly I want to do that. And I think by reducing the number of blocks that I place higher up is the way to go about solving that. Because I'm going to want to have the flexibility of tearing it down, and the less I have to tear down, the better. I've already done a lot of tearing down for this build, so to speak. Alright. Call up. No, undoing the transformation. We want you. So, tomorrow, I am not going to be able to do the stream. I have other obligation that I have to attend to. A friend of mine is getting married, and I am involved in the ceremonies, and the timing for us to get together with their schedule and my schedule and get fitting for certain things, and it ended up being we needed to do it tomorrow. So I'm not going to do my stream tomorrow night. I'm not saying that there won't be a stream tomorrow. It may not be tomorrow. It may be like, oh, I don't know, 1 a.m. on Saturday. So, like, and like, it's going to be fun too because she wants me in a kilt. Her husband is, like, and all of the groomsmen and whatnot are all in kilts. So, with the position that I have in the wedding, she wants me in a kilt as well. So, like, I'm excited about that. I've always been told, oh, you've got heritage that's Irish and Scottish and all kinds. You're just a European mutt. And, like, ironically enough, it was one of those things where it turns out that not only do I share a birthday with her husband-to-be, but, like, it turns out way back, we have the same ancestors that came, offshoots off the same ancestors that came over near the beginning stages of our nation. So, like, it's been a fun thing, because, like, we actually did the research to find out, okay, where is my lineage from? What's the tartans that are actually available for me to use? And that would be legitimate, like, family tartans. So, like, I'm real excited for that. But they're a really cool couple, and they've been really kind to me, and they've been really good friends. They're a little older than me. I met them through work, but I don't get to spend as much time with them as I'd like, just because we're all so busy. And that's the one problem as friends as an adult. I get it, we get busy, but sometimes it's nice to reach out and be like, "Hey, you're still my bro. You're still my family. You're still my girl, like my sis or whatever, or big sis." And there have been people in my life that, like, I probably should try to reconnect with, and not because we distance each other because of, like, fights, but sometimes distance just happens. And you forget that, we're all human. We're all trying to do our best. But sometimes we gotta reach out. And I think it's good. So if you got somebody you want to reach out to, you should do so. So right now, we're setting up these columns here. I want to get them all at the appropriate height, because this is going to matter for our roof structure. Because that's the next piece that I'm working on. So it's funny, when I was prepping for this, I was like, man, there's one thing this building needs. It's more pillars. I need to craft more pillars. I'm going to make another 100 pillar pieces on each set for the middles. And now I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't even think that may have been enough for my end goal. I added like a less amount of the bases and the tops, figuring, oh, I won't need as many of them. But I want to have some crafted, and my thought process is I'm writing down everything that I put into this build, or craft and preps for this build. And everything that I add to my inventory to be worked on with this build, I put on a sheet of paper. And then at the end of the build, all of these chests that you see will have all my leftover stuff in it. And then I'm going to go through and add all the tallies up and all my notes up with all this. And I'll be able to produce an entire spreadsheet almost on what exactly went into this build, in case anybody wanted to try to duplicate it, or wanted to do something of a similar scale, so they can at least anticipate exactly the scale that this project kind of entails. Because like I said, we're moving right through these pillars. And I still have that bottom area. I wanted to do pillars below to line up with these pillars up here. So, like, and I thought it was important that we use the rounded pillars in this area, because like I said earlier, there's so few round options in this game, and where I'm wanting to create the effect of this rounded roof section. In order to help create that effect, we're going to need some rounded pieces for that, I feel like. Alright, so just so we're all copacetic, that puts us on line with the top of the marble walls. Also, that's really satisfying to see that is exactly one block shy of the ceiling for that mural. Just saying. It's funny, I was like, I want to get all the floors done and whatnot, and here I am. Roof, 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 roof. Over here. In the center. where it doesn't affect any of my builds. Alrighty. So the mural is done. Let's take a look. Oh, I'm thirsty. Just to be clear, that's not a product placement. I do not intend on advertising. I'm not. For Mountain Dew. Alrighty. You know, with us having placed the windows off, I know it's off by one from being centered, where we have that number is off by just a little bit, where it's not perfectly centered. It's not capable of being perfectly centered. But I think with having had the windows with that one block between them on either side of it, makes it at a glance look a lot more centered. And I think if we put some work in that corner with something else to kind of decorate it up, then, yeah, I think we can make that look nice. Yeah, I'm not product placing. I'm thirsty. Grabbed a drink. Normally, I try to grab something that, like, I've torn off the label to, but, like, I forgot to pre-prep my drink. I'm sorry. Alrighty, so we're over in this roof area. I can only be denied the changes for some... I can only be denied making these changes for so long. Because this is one of those changes that I was kind of happy, where I'm like, oh, I really like that effect. I can't wait to show people what this effect is going to look like once I'm on stream. Because I played with this and I absolutely just realized I forgot to put back the mysterious statue that I had in the very tip top of this structure here. And it's okay. Okay. Because we're going stained glass. So this is, again, on the getting color pop. Alright, that's positioned. And then... so this is going to be our ceiling height. And I've decided nothing beats white marble. Alrighty. Now we need to start doing our little work here. So what we're doing here is we're going to set up the same structure that I've got below for shaping. As everybody rolls back towards the elevators. They're like, let us go back to our homes. We don't want them to put us to work again. I know you were just teasing, man. Though, believe me, if Mountain Dew wanted to endorse me, I would happily take that corporate money, or at least, you know, maybe some free Baja, because that's my stuff. I am a Baja Blast fiend. I cannot help it. Anymore, that is the only soda I get. And, like, originally they released it as it was supposed to be around for a year, and then it goes back to being Taco Bell exclusive. Well, we have gone past that year, so either they have decided, we're going to manufacture it for a year, and then once it's gone, or they decided, hey, you all liked it so much, we are no longer going to make it a Taco Bell exclusive, and you can have it all the time. Now, admittedly, that Baja Blast from Taco Bell straight from the fountain hits better than the can or the 20 ounces any time. Um, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that canned is the way to go for that flavor. Um, I am very much one of those can versus bottle debate people when it comes to soda. Being with the fact that I am from the state of Kentucky, I grew up with a drink called Ale 81. And it's one of those drinks where if you try it in a can, try it in a plastic bottle, and try it in a glass bottle, and then try it on a fountain, your experience with how the drink tastes will change. And yeah, so like, I get that. I am definitely one of those, the can affect the flavor. Fortunately, I think for me that it's not too bad of a change. Like, I can manage. Alright, so we actually can use that line. Cool. We're going to use this line for now, because this will be our ceiling, regardless. Trying to make sure I work around the elevator. Oh, wait, I don't have to work around the elevator to this height. That was the one below. We can do this. We can create the roof. I'm only going to do the roof in this section for now. We're not going to go much beyond that little sequence there, because this will be when we start getting that interesting build part of the building. And my obsession. What is my obsession, you might ask? My obsession is skylights. I gotta have... And it's funny, too, because, like, I watch so many people with their Pokopia builds. Well, I appreciate you stopping by. I hope you rest well. But yeah, everybody I look at when they're making videos, they're like, yeah, everybody is doing lots of windows, lots of skylights, or they're doing very Japanese style buildings. And I'm here for it, guys. I'm not gonna lie, I'm here for it. Alrighty. So this is how we're going to start making our kind of curved section of roof here. But yeah, the whole community agrees. Skylights and lots of windows and builds are just a boon. Anytime you can kind of create that natural lighting effect, it's a win. As you can see, we're just putting these little quarter pillars in here. I don't have something that can really properly round it off, unfortunately. But I will say this. For this part of the build, everything in my inventory is enough. So we will be able to get this entire section of roof here with these skylights in place, ready to go. So from here, we need a little marble. I'm going to start doing one by one placement. So we can fill in these gaps on these pillar quarters. so we can place the next layer on top. Yep. And eventually we're going to hit a point where it starts shrinking on us here. As things start to narrow out as we get closer and closer to the top. So like I said, we can't do a perfect dome, but I think this effect that I'm working on here ends up working pretty nicely to kind of replicate the feel in a block system. And I hope you see what I'm talking about while we're doing this. Alright, do another layer. Lights. I have to admit, when I tested this part of the build out, once I got it finished, it was almost sad for me to tear it apart. Because I like the effect that well enough that I didn't want to stop. And tear it down. It looked really nice, but I wanted to record it and I wanted people to see it and kind of build it in live time as well, so here we are, building away. And I saved it for you. That way we could do it together here. As I said, it kind of starts to narrow out just a little bit as we get closer and closer. Hey, we're gonna need you, bud. Alright. Skylight. So I mentioned that one of the things that I'm wanting to do is a central habitat down below. I'm wanting to do kind of a rounded display with Aerodactyl hanging from the ceiling here in the middle of the area here as your kind of like museum entryway. So still quite trying to figure out the dimensions on that. We'll get there. We're making a lot of progress on this tonight. That's part of why I wanted to make sure we did a longer stream tonight as a means of kind of making it where we can get through this a little bit better. Alright. So by the time we're done, we should have for tonight. Good chunk of the exterior done. Minus the, Oh, who's living in the museum? Um, I haven't quite decided. In my old museum, I had the baby fossil Pokemon and Goldengo and Ging. I had Miss Magus and I want to say Typhlosion is in the cafe. So, like, I'm thinking I'm going to bring my small fossil Pokemon back over to this museum. I am also debating on adding Mewtwo somewhere in the museum. The only problem that I have with trying to do them as living in here is they start going, we want they want to have stuff like beds and whatnot, and like the way I did it in the before is I basically turned kind of like how this is going to get walled off. I did a small walled off little closet that was technically the habitat or the house that they were living in inside of the museum, and that's how I got them all in there. But like, I'm not so sure that's how I want to do it. In this version of the museum, they want to have their beds. They want to be cozy in their houses. So, like, I don't want to deny them that. But, like, I know for the cafe greenhouse area, I'm definitely going to move some of my grass types in there. Right now, I'll probably move a bug type in there. Because I think having the bug types flying around makes it look like they're pollinating the plants, and I like the effect. Oh. So I do need every single window in my inventory for this build. That was one of the advantages of having plotted this out ahead of time, was that I was able to figure out exactly how many windows I really needed for this build. That is a thought. So right now I've got, so here, let me kind of, I'm not sure if you've been with us before, but let me scroll down here. So this is where we're going to be doing the fossil habitats. I've already kind of built the first big fossil habitat down here. In fact, while we're here, a couple things I wanted to add it that I ran out of the first time. There we go. So that's kind of how we're doing the fossil habitats, and then I was wanting to do like the baby one right beside it on a pedestal or right in front of it, and we have that central walkway. We may do it on kind of between. Still working it out. Still working it out. Yep. Yeah, I moved the mural from Muse. If you have a Pokemon with Bulldoze tear it down, you can move it from the wasteland. And that's what I did. It makes it a kit, and then I don't have the slabs on me at this moment to go ahead and load them up. But I do have all the slabs in my storage unit, so that way we can easily get that loaded in, and I will do that before the end of the evening, just because I think having that slab looking nice as part of that will help get me motivated for finding the proper shaping for what I want for that section for displaying the lost relics and frames, because there's like 44 small lost relics and frames that I gotta figure out wall space for, and I kind of want to do kind of like a winding walkway. So the big one that you saw on the bottom, what I'm wanting to do, and this is one of those things where I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it embedded like it is, or if I'm going to switch over to having raised it, is I'm going to try to replicate a prehistoric human habitat for the build. And we're going to use the leaf huts. I have been working on it steadily, so like I work on it only on stream. So we are almost done with most of the exterior of the main central area and the wings. The back T section, which will be a greenhouse cafe build, that is still going to be a little bit longer for prepping on the supplies for that. Alright, so for this section here, what I ended up doing the last time was this. We got here. So we don't have too much more to go, and I will be happy with what I've got. And then I did this. So, in terms of fossils, yeah, I can show you that. Here, give me one sec. And of course, while I'm doing this, I'm like, I need to get the finish off the second floor. So, right now, you've got Auroras here. And then I'm going to come across the side here, and this will be Tyrantum, and I'm going to do like a lava and volcano. And then you're going to have Shieldos and Rampardos across from each other here. They both live in very similar dry habitats, and so that's why it was very important I get this enclosed, because I want to use some of the barren earth and the cracked sandstone and the dried plants to help decorate these two sections of the build. While this one I'm going to want to incorporate lava into it, maybe make a mini volcano using the brick oven to generate smokes, kind of encase it in black stone, give it little smoke puffs coming off of it, and then do like a little lava pool with Tyrantum standing off of it. And then, like I said, this section here, I'm debating on raising it so that way it has the houses and it doesn't have everything on the lower spectrum for that visual range. We have something a little bit higher up. And then here, I'll go ahead and pull up the treat collection kits. So we're going to use the leaf hut kit to kind of be the primitive early human homes. And then Aerodactyl, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a smaller circular exhibit in here and then make it look like Aerodactyl is hanging from wires from the ceiling at about this height, with a natural wildlife plant and habitat kind of like hunting ground below him. And then here, this is going to bug me until I fix this wall, because this is going to be one of those areas where hidden behind a door, not meant for public. So we're probably going to do an iron door, so that will be 2 by 2. Alright, so that will be access to the furnaces, and so right now, let's finish this floor before I forget again. Also, welcome to the chat. Happy to have you here with us. I typically will stream on Pokopia on Tuesday evenings and Thursday evenings and Friday evenings. This Friday, got something else going on and won't be able to do it. And then next Tuesday, I was thinking we would take a break from Pokopia and maybe do less on the build side, maybe do some shiny hunting. Now, if I've got people that are like, we want Pokopia, don't change off of Pokopia until everything is placed on this museum, including the greenhouse, then I'll push through on that. But otherwise, I was thinking of taking a one night off on the Pokopia building and switch over to do a little shiny hunting maybe show off what I've got in my shiny living deck so far. That is on the table for stuff that I wouldn't mind or would like to do at some point along the way. I do love shiny hunting. That is like my #1 thing in the mainline games after I finish the story. I'm not the competitive battler. Don't get me wrong. I understand competitive and I know how to build. I just don't enjoy the competitive nature. I'm much more of a let's work together and create something better than we could alone kind of person when it comes to how I do games. So co-op is definitely the way we go. I love doing Stardew Valley co-op with my wife because, like, she and I have been playing that game so much that we're able to pretty much play in absolute silence and know exactly how to perfectly complement what the other one is doing in the game. Like, it is just... I just love it. We're on the same wavelength every time we play that game. We're able to kind of breeze through and get the farm set up exactly how we want, triggering the community center to be done by first day or second day of winter, depending on the RNG factor of when certain forageables spawn in. But that's just one of the things that, like, co-op is where it's at for me. I feel like we work against each other as a society so much unnecessarily. The idea that working together to create something nice, like, that's where the real magic is. Alrighty. Oh, I'm definitely going to need to create more marble. But let's go ahead and... Yep. Let's get started on this. 1, 2. And then this should be 1, 2, 1. And like I said, I'm going to adjust the entryway here. I'm not liking how this very front section here is looking. We're going to shift the doors away from each other by 1 block each. I'm going to get rid of these triangular structures there. And we're going to do a different style of front on that. The upper level here, I'm satisfied with how that's looking right now. So we'll keep rolling with that, with how it is. But the other area, I'm going to tweak that front a little bit more. Once I get these banners on how I want them, I will do a full-on outlook view of it here. Get back to this top. Yep. And then... Are you my 1? You are not my 1. You are my 1. Alright. So this will help with the color issue, give us a little bit better variety. So it's not wanting us to connect from there, so we can do that from here. So we have to have the block above it, so that way it auto-interrupts and passes on. Then again, once I place these banners, it may be that I don't think we need to move the doors like I thought we did. We'll see. I'm hoping that these banners do keep it kind of looking like a museum and not so much like a castle. That is the minor concern here, is I don't want it looking like a castle. I want it looking like a museum. But, I mean, at the same time, some museums do look kind of like miniature castles. And in fact, some of the museums are actual castles that have been turned into museums. So, like, it's not a complete stretch for it to look almost castle-like in some respect, but I don't want it to be like, you look at it and that's what you see as castle. I wanted you to still be able to look at it and be like, yep, that's a museum. And these banners, by doing them double wide, will make that front look a little less awkward, I think. Oh, come on. There we go. But if we shift them one, it can still work and have a nice effect. And if I have to reduce it to being a single wide banner instead of a double wide banner for this section, that won't be the end of the world. Again, everything that we do in this game that we don't like, we can fix. Just because we can place it, we're not... Like, here we go again. Messing up the spacing. Easy fix. We got this. Well, let me put a hole in my wall. There we go. Nice little wall. Rebuilt. And like I said, this white stone that I've got kind of as the foundation, we're going to go ahead and swap that out for marble. And like I said, I'd like to get the roof finished today. And then we'll either pick back up on the museum on Thursday or Tuesday for more. But we're getting there. Let me get this door shut and out of the way. Alrighty, so let's take a look at that view. So that's what we got so far. I think we're looking alright. I think if we swap that for marble and go with what I had for my idea for that roofing, we'll be good. Alright, so back to my storage area so we can get the mysterious slates and get those placed. Because that is going to be one of those big things that I definitely want to have everything put in right. So... yeah. We got enough room for everything. while we're here, how much marble do I have? 7. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead. I'm going to make another 990 marble. Like I said, at the end of this, so every one of my streams I am uploading to YouTube, and I have been recording a clean version of the footage, and it will be time-lapsed into a video without all of the webcam in my face, and then we'll do a voiceover for it, and then I'll have like the entire build list, every item that goes into this build. So in case you want to duplicate it yourself, you can kind of see the time lapse of it and see how meandering I really am sometimes. Like, you know, failing to make my marble because I got talking about what we wanted. Wrote it down. Added it to the build inventory. On paper. But not into my actual inventory. Alright, so that was the original museum. And again, that's kind of how we originally did it. And Aerodactyl we're going to have hanging again, just from longer wires. And we're going to give it a natural environment below it, so it looks like it's flying over a habitat. It's always interesting to see exactly how builds will load in. Sometimes. Like just how they kind of fade in. Certain details load first. Speaking of details. There's what I'm looking for. Oh, well, shoot. Looks like I don't put it away. Do I like that? Or do I like... No, we're gonna leave it like that. I like that. Though I feel like this guy deserves to be right up here. And then we'll do another one facing the opposite direction. Yeah. Alright. Time to put in the ceiling. But yeah, I'll have a time-lapse video that will have the full build on YouTube eventually. And then we'll have the build list with everything that I've used in this. And like I said, feel free if you like something that I'm doing. I don't mind you taking the idea and running with it and doing it yourself. I'm trying to make something that's a little different from how everybody else is doing it. But like I said, we work with limited resources. There's only so much variation. Simpsons did it. As South Park put it, when the idea that all new ideas are just rehashing of old ideas. So I could have rebuilt the museum in the Rocky Ridge area, but that seemed boring to me. Versus creating it all from scratch and putting my own little twist on it. Kind of like how I made my own volcano. So I could have a roller coaster going through it. Not that there isn't like mine carts going through the others, and I added stops on mine so that way the fire Pokemon that live in my volcano can actually make use of the carts nicely. especially since they drop off at the mountain top peak mini castle and the um, oh shoot. Then you've got my actual forge area where most of them live in the center of the fire. And then you've got the hot springs inside the volcano, which the Pokemon love, and that's good for keeping up the morale. That's how I'm able to get so many Pokemon that have that awesome status for their satisfaction with the habitat. So the last time I built a staircase for my museum in Pokopia, it was one that kind of spiraled up. And I can go back to that and I can show you all that if you want, but one of the things I noticed with that is the Pokemon really struggled to come up and down on that. So I think this time what I may need to do is set it up so that the staircase is double wide going straight up to the second level, because every time I'd start curving around they'd be like, oh, I'm having trouble following you, my Ditto. And I'd be like, okay, let me go downstairs, let me get on the elevator, force everybody upstairs. So, like, I don't want to have that effect happen again. So, let's see here. Does it conveniently put it in the order I need it? Yes, it does. Oh, well. It still helps if I don't put the duplicates up. And as if you missed, just in case you missed it earlier, Mew was one of the ones helping build this, so we don't need to worry about Mew. And then that's going to be RJ, yep. I've already got Mew in the world. So I could make this a habitat for Mew if I wanted to. But Mew is just so happy in his little house right now with Tinkaton and Absol. And normally Smearguru is in there with them. But because of the build, I've kind of moved Smearguru into temporary housing to be close at hand. So that way we can easily paint stuff if I needed to craft more supplies. So bam! There's our Mew mural. And like I said, I've got spare slabs, because once you get the first one finished, you start getting the spares. And if you use Bulldoze and 4 Pokemon, you can tear it down, and you'll get all your original slabs back, as well as the building kit you need for moving the mural wherever you want it easily. Now, that being said, if you get a full second set of your mural blocks, you're able to in theory build your own version of the mural. You don't have to have it be with that same border. You can make your own style border if you wanted to. A lot of people are also using it for using the unknown letters to spell stuff. I'm less in favor of that, simply because Ditto is technically illiterate based off of how the things are going. Like, Ditto doesn't know what's on the pages. Professor Tangrowth tells him his version of what's on the pages or what stuff is, and Ditto just kind of runs with it. But I think, well, I think we're going to finish the roof tonight, because I have been at this since 10:30, and it is 12:40. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to craft enough to finish this, and then we're going to call it good for tonight. And then we'll pick it up on either Tuesday or Thursday, depending on if I get any comments asking for it to be completed. We'll go 200 for now. I know I'm going to need more, but I'd rather pull a big bulk craft of marble from the main storage area and crafting workbench, where I've still got a majority of my supplies. So that way we can hold on to the limestone that I've got over here for making more pillars, because I will need to make more pillars for what I want to do for the front area. And then we're going to make some display cases, and we're going to do lighting and all that fun stuff next episode that we work on the museum. So let me finish this roof, and then we'll do one last faraway look at what we've got built tonight. And I think we're going to call it a night there. And then we'll do... Oh, shoot. 200 still wasn't enough. Like I said, the thing about when you're doing builds this size is just... In theory, I could draw a chunk of it out. But... it's also not as easy to portray on paper for drawing out. Like, I tested floor plans and whatnot, and I think I could have done the math, but, like, having everything right here, that makes it an easy fix. Do another 200. So give me just one moment here. And we'll get this roof filled in. And we'll start adding accents and put the final touches and start building those fossil displays on the next stream. So please, please, I'd love to see you here again on Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now on Monday afternoon at I believe either 1:30 or 2 p.m. I know it's on my schedule on Twitch if you look at my schedule tab. We're going to be doing we will be doing Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic for the Monday afternoon stream. So 40. Okay, cool. We got enough to do it. So I want to swap out this stone because I think having the marble there instead just makes it look nicer. Let me see what it looks like on the inside. Yes, I want to do the transformation. So like I said, we're going to replace all this white stone with marble. We're going to extend it out. I'm going to probably get rid of these arches. And we're going to do a different style of overhead view. Alrighty. So from there, we need to either convert it over to that, because that should be areas not covered by the front. Because we got all the visible front areas as marble. So we'll make this areas look visibly like the rest of the floor. Because that's probably areas that we can technically see in our maintenance room here. So that way that looks uniform. Okay, we got that. We're looking good. Let me shut this door. And we'll see that faraway view one last time before I say goodnight. So, that is what we've got for the front of our museum right now. And like I said, I think we may be changing the little triangular pieces in the over the doorways. I'm thinking we may do a flat roof that kind of extends over like a roof would over a breezeway, with various pillars set up, and we'll add some planters to add some color right underneath those windows. So stay tuned. Come back and visit us on Tuesday evening at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be able to, hopefully on this next stream, finish off the museum, or at least finish off the museum for the exterior and interior minus the cafe greenhouse build, which I think may take its own long stream to get done. Fortunately, I do have the ideas for how I want to do that. That's going to be a lot simpler. I think the hardest part of that is making sure that I put enough room for how many tables I want to put into this cafe for the museum. And then we'll start working on the gift shop. We'll start working on those fossil displays. We'll flesh out that Aerodactyl display. I think I'm going to save the human display for the end. And then we'll get the artwork, and we'll get the space exhibit all set up. And then we'll do the human exhibit with the leaf huts and the natural habitats and the fireplaces, or at least Ditto's view of what early humans must have been like, which I want to point out that is the goal of that little section. It's what Ditto's view of what early humans must have been like, as if he had been told by Professor Tangrowth. And obviously, we know that Ditto and Tangrowth don't know all of human history to have any real clear idea of exactly what early human life would look like. So I think that having a almost fusion by what it would look like with the interpretation of somebody who's just discovered a bunch of human stuff would think, with no real knowledge, oh, they must have always had this, surely, and throw in a random thing that just does not make sense for the time period you were building for. But anyways, thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I hope to see you again here soon, either for our Monday afternoon stream, which again, that schedule is, let me pull that up. I know I've got it on the schedule here. Let me check my channel for that for you. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's going to be 2 o'clock on Monday afternoon. We'll do Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic playthrough that we started on May the 4th. We'll continue that, and we'll play that for about 2 hours. And then on Tuesday evening at 10:30 p.m. is when we'll resume Pokopia. I think the right move is to push to finish this museum and then do the shiny hunting as that kind of breakaway between finishing this part of the build and transitioning into that greenhouse build. That'll give me a little more time to get the plant life that I need in line, because that's the worst part for doing these large greenhouse type builds and wanting to do a lot of flowers and whatnot to make things look really nice, is you kind of got to get that inventory built up on seeds from going different places, and it also try to avoid having to 3D print too much of it. That being said, I am going to be farming poke metal ore, so that way we can get that, or poke metal fragments, sorry, so we can get that poke metal ingots, and we can 3D print any kind of um, plant life that we need for this build. So, yeah, thank you for joining me. Be the change you want to be in the world. Have a wonderful evening.